"Hey, lazy punk, get off your butt, you're in the way. Leave me alone, you old two-planker, this isn't your mountain." Now, you're probably asking, why did I start out like that? What kind of a conversation is that? It might be a conversation that you may hear on the slopes of any mountain resort between a skier and a snowboarder. Ever since snowboarding began in the 1960s, there has always been a great debate on whether snowboarding is better than skiing, and there's always been a misconception about snowboarders being crazy, reckless punks. Now, being a snowboarder myself, I am not a crazy, reckless punk, and I am very considerate. I've also started out skiing, so I've been on both sides, and I love snowboarding and will never go back to skiing. And today I am here to convince you that snowboarders are not reckless punks. They are just like anybody else on the slopes out enjoying the snow. So for those of you who have never tried snowboarding, and for those of you snowboarders who are tired of being treated badly by skiers or anybody that's opposed to snowboarding, here are some common perceptions and some facts to kind of show you that they're not really what you think they are. First and foremost, most people think that snowboarders are more likely to get hurt. Now, this has been true in some years. For example, according to the National Ski Areas Association, in the 2004-2005 ski season, there were 45 serious injuries, and by serious we mean serious head injuries and paraplegia as a result of their injury. In 2004-2005, of those 45 injuries, 24 were skiers and only 21 were snowboarders. Now, in the 2009-2010 season, out of the 39 serious injuries reported, 16 were skiers and 23 were snowboarders. So this goes to show that snowboarders are not always more likely to get hurt, that it varies. Sometimes it may be a snowboarders one year that are more likely to hurt, the next year it may be skiers. Now, you may be surprised to find that deaths are more likely to occur in skiing injuries than in snowboarding injuries. In the 2004-2005 season, 45 deaths were recorded. 30 of those were skiers, and only 15 were snowboarders. In the 2009-2010 season, 38 deaths occurred. 25 were skiers, and 13 were snowboarders. Now, another common another common perception is that snowboarders are reckless and dangerous, and they run people over and they run into people. Now, I'm not saying there aren't some snowboarders out there who are crazy and reckless and cause injuries to other people by running into them. However, over a 4-year study done by Davidson and Laliotis, there were more skier-on-skier collisions than there were skier-snowboarder collisions. Another perception of snowboarders is that they get hurt more and have a higher rate of injury. Now, this may be true, but in my opinion, their injuries seem less severe. The most common injuries in a snowboarder are upper body injuries, most commonly wrist injuries. In skiers, lower body injuries are more likely, specifically knee injuries. Over a third of skiers' injuries are knee injuries, and a smaller percentage of common injuries in snowboarders are wrist injuries. Now, to show you why snowboards have a more risk of lower body injuries or higher risk of upper body injuries is because your feet are strapped into these two bindings here, and they're not release bindings like on skis. So you have a little bit less balance control. You don't have poles to help you. You rely strictly on your ab muscles, basically, and your leg muscles to hold you up. So when a snowboarder loses balance, they tend to put their arm behind them to catch them, and this is what causes the wrist injuries. Now, the wrist injuries are more common in beginning snowboarders because they have not learned to tuck their arms or land on their forearms or to land with a fist to keep that wrist from snapping. Now, in skiers, the reason that their injuries are more lower body injuries is because they have their legs separate from each other, and one can get twisted before the binding releases, causing most knee injuries. Another perception is that snowboarding is harder to do. Now, snowboarding is a lot harder to learn, especially if you try and learn without proper instruction. However, snowboarding is easier on the body, and I say this because the first person in my family to start snowboarding was my father when he was in his 40s, late 40s. Now, being somebody in middle age, he has said that he had skied for 20 plus years and he tried snowboarding and it was so much easier on his body. And from my personal experience, I get on a pair of skis and I can only ski for about an hour before my knees are killing me and my ankles and my feet, because of the way in skis you are set with your ankles and your knees bent and kind of leaning forward. In a snowboard you have much more flexibility. You know, the boots are so much easier to walk in and you don't always have to bend your knees and you're not set in that forward position, so you can kind of relax a little bit. My dad is now 53, still snowboarding, still loving it, says he will never go back to skiing. So remember, you're never too old to learn how to snowboard. Snowboarding to most seems like a dangerous and reckless sport. However, most of these conceptions are probably caused by beginners who have had no instruction, because with the proper instruction, snowboarding can be just as fun and as respectable as skiing. Now, in conclusion, which is better, skiing or snowboarding? There's really no proof to show that one is better than the other. There is no proof to show that one is safer than the other, because the injuries from each sport are so different, it's too hard to compare. So I will leave you with this. The next time you see a snowboarder, don't just assume they're a reckless punk. Just keep in mind that snowboarding is not necessarily more dangerous, and those who snowboard are not necessarily more dangerous. They are probably just out enjoying the beautiful snow God gave us, just like you, and as long as everybody can be respectable and share the mountain, I think skiers and snowboarders can live in harmony.